Hey there everyone, and welcome to the first video of 2024. And I'm really excited to talk to you all about this because I am a big goal-oriented person. And as you can probably tell by the description of this video, that is what we're going to be talking about today, along with my January TBR, because I thought that would be a fun way to integrate the two videos, and we're just gonna go from there. So I'm going to be talking about my goals first and then my January TBR second. So I'll put a timestamp up for when I switch over to my January TBR so you all can just jump ahead if that's what you want to see. As I'm filming this, it is the first day of the year and I am just so excited. 2023 was a lot. I did 2 semesters of grad school, I got married. There were a lot of just big things happening, and I am just really looking forward to 2024 because one, I'm going to graduate grad school, ideally, God willing, at this time. So that won't be until like September timeframe. So it's going to be a long year of getting through that. But I also am just really excited to not have to think about wedding stuff anymore. That is just such a burden to be lifted, and it was such a blessing to have, but it's also just amazing that it's over and I can kind of focus on myself and the marriage at this point and not like vendors and silly things that come with wedding planning. What I think are silly things, I should say. So I'm going to talk about my bookish goals, but then also a couple of my personal goals because I'm going to be probably trying to keep up with those in the weekly vlogs. So I think that that's important to just kind of show you all why I'm going to be doing certain things in the weekly vlogs and go from there. So first, something I'm really excited about that I have not done in the past, but I'm really looking forward to doing this year is I'm going to be keeping a book journal. And I am not an artsy person. I'm not an artsy person, and it actually drives me mad that I can't do those artsy things. So instead of just making myself mad that I can't do the artsy things, I went ahead and picked up an artsy journal that is already there for me so that I can just fill it in and then be happy with the outcome. So I picked up this reading journal from Little Inklings Design, and I am really excited about it. I'm going to try to show you all some of it, but this is where I'm also keeping my yearly goals, how I'm going to be tracking my reading, and then also where I'll be storing my reviews. So I'm really excited about it, and it's so cute, isn't it? I love it. So let's jump into the bookish goals, and my first one, which I am really excited about, but I also took a lot of time to think about. I am going to reduce my number of books that I want to read in a year to 80 books. This primarily stems from I felt like this year I could not read the bigger books because it would put me behind track for hitting my 100 books in the year. And I hit my 100 books. I ended the year at 114, so it was above, but I didn't like the stress that came with it. And reading is supposed to be fun, and I want to pick up more fantasy books this year, which tend to be longer and require more brain power, hence more time to read it. So I figured that 80 was a good compromise and saying like it's still a stretch goal, but I also will have the time to just take back and enjoy the books as I'm reading them. I also want to intentionally read more diverse authors and diverse characters within my stories. So I thought at first that this would just kind of come naturally, like whatever people would be recommending would be diverse, but what I have experienced is not that at this point, and maybe that's a reflection on who I'm watching. But I really wanted to be intentional about it, so I set up 24 books to read in 2024 for myself, and a lot of those books cover very diverse characters or very diverse authors. So I think that that was a way that I am kind of intentionally setting myself up to read more diverse stories. And in that, I am going to be kind of reflecting on that each month. So there are 24, obviously, so I'm hoping to read 2 each month. So at least I'll have 2. I would like to ideally have more, but if 2 is the minimum, then I am still happy with that because it's probably better than what I did the previous year. And progress is progress. I also am going to hold myself accountable and buy less books. So I have had a lot of book hauls here, and they are actually my best performing videos, and that is great because everybody loves a good book haul. But I am going to try to do less of those book hauls because ideally I won't have as many books to haul and show you all, because I have a lot of books. I have a lot of them and I'm very happy with them all and looking forward to reading them all. But that also means I don't need to be bringing more books in at this point. So what I'm going to do is just have my book of the month subscription for now, and then just add stuff to my wish list. So as I'm seeing it, I'll add it, and then if I end up really wanting to read that, like if I'm going to read it basically immediately, then I can grab it. But otherwise, maybe just let it sit there for a little bit and wait until like my birthday or some other holiday when I can get other people to buy me books, and I don't necessarily need to just get them all the time, because just because I can does not mean that I should. Also, I'm just going to look for those books in different places. So Libby, I'm always a big fan of. Also, I should probably just go into my local library and pick up a physical copy of the books that I want to read. Those free options are always great, and then it's also supporting them and not adding to my shelves that are already overflowing. My fourth goal is that I want to read one series per month. So I am really bad at reading one book in a series and then setting the second book off for months at a time. And that it does not really help with the reading experience like at all, because then I come back and I just think, what has happened? Because I don't remember by the time I get to the second book. So I have a ton of duologies and trilogies and bigger series, but I don't really count that in this goal because that is kind of a lot to do in a month. But for the duologies and the trilogies that I have on my shelf, I want to read at least one of those per month and kind of make that a goal for myself, because then I'm forcing myself to just read it in one sitting, and then I can just remember it as it is and probably as it's intended to be read, like all at the same time. You're not forgetting anything from one story to the next. So I'm really hopeful about that, and I have already kind of incorporated it into my January TBR where I'm starting with that. So we're starting off strong. And then lastly, being consistent and posting my socials and my reviews on the internet. So I have a TikTok account. I would like to post there 5 times per week, which I have done historically, but I just want to continue that goal. And then also for Instagram and YouTube, I would like to post 4 times per month. That was a pretty arbitrary number, but I am hoping to do more than that. But since I haven't really had a consistent number in the past, I figured 4 would be a good place to start. I also want to be better at posting reviews, and for the most part I try to talk about my books and like post a review for each one, but I don't always do it, and I think that that's really important for me to do because I want to talk about books, and people like to listen to people who sound like they know what they're talking about when they're talking about books and don't kind of stutter and just are better at describing their thoughts. So I just want to be better at that generally, and the only way to get better is to just practice. So that is my goal for that. And then I guess specific to this YouTube account, what I want to happen in my wildest dreams, this is the ideal circumstance, is that my videos are a combination of Katie is reading. You all know that I absolutely adore her content and I love her aesthetic, and the books that she chooses to read I really enjoy. She's very good at talking about them. So I want it to be a combination of her, Reagan from Peruse Project. I love her too. I have been binging her content because her reading vlogs are masterful and I just want to read them. And I have so many recommendations from her at this point because she describes them so well. And she reads like high fantasy. So if you can describe high fantasy and break it down for me to where I feel like I could understand it, like you are a pro. Like she is so good at it and I really enjoy watching her content. So her, and then also Olivia Reads a Latte, her weekly vlogs I really enjoy, and how she kind of just talks about her life and her mental health I really enjoy as well, and would like to talk about that a little bit here. So all of those together, I would like to be that person, like just combining all of them, the best attributes and everything like that. So that is my goal for this account. So we'll see how I make that happen. I don't actually know how I'll make that happen, but those are my goals. So at least I've identified them. We'll figure out how to make it happen later as we're going. So those are kind of my bookish goals for the year, and I feel very good about them. I have been thinking about them for a minute. It didn't just come to me one day. I've been watching other people's and what they're thinking about, and then also reflecting on my 2023 reading experience. So I am definitely going to feel good about these and hold myself accountable to them. So I'm going to talk about two of my personal goals here because I want to share a little bit more of my life in these vlogs. So first, I would like to graduate from grad school. I am in a master's program for cybersecurity technology, and I am really enjoying it. That is a field that is very interesting to me, and I am about halfway through at this point. So what I want to do, ideally, if I don't get burned out, is to do the next 3 semesters. So winter, spring, summer, and then be done with my graduate program and be done with school, hopefully forever at this point, and just call it a year and be just very happy and content with that. So you all will probably see me doing some homework because of how I'm going to have to structure my days. And I am just really hoping to find a good balance between a graduate program, my corporate job, and this book content. That is my goal. We'll see how it goes. And also, I'd like to show other people who may be in a similar circumstance how you can balance it all. Not saying that I'm a pro at it, but at least seeing other people do it makes you feel less alone in your journey. And then lastly, on average, working out 4 times per week. I really believe in moving your body, and it is just so important to give it that movement. I work a corporate job. I sit down for very long. My hobby is reading. So unless I'm walking and reading at the same time, it's a very sedentary activity. And I am a big believer that your body needs more than that, and it feels better when it does. So I want to hold myself accountable to prioritizing that because you can be tired in the mornings. I work out in the morning before I go to work. And sometimes those are early mornings, but you really, I don't want to say you. I feel as though I just need to do it because I always feel better after I do it. I want to hold myself accountable for that and hopefully show you all as I go along with it because it's not easy waking up and going to work out before I go to my corporate job. Like, that is not fun. It is not a good time, but I do feel better and feel accomplished and feel like I'm ready for the day once I do it. That is that. And hopefully you all will see me. I have a walking pad and I hope to walk and read like twice per week because that is a good way to get those extra steps in and just a little bit more movement than if I'm just sitting down to read. So those are two of my personal goals that I'm going to hopefully incorporate into the weekly vlogs of it so that you all can see how I am getting there and what I'm doing to make those goals happen. So those are my goals for 2024. I am really excited about them. Let me know what some of your goals are. I love hearing about what other people are kind of setting themselves up to do. I'm a big believer in goal setting. Me and my husband sit down at the beginning of every month and think about what we want to do in that month and what we want to accomplish. So we're big believers in it, and I really like hearing what other people are doing about it. So let me know. And now let us move into my January TBR. Okay, so first off, I have 8 books on my TBR for this month, and that is more so conducive with one, I'm starting grad school again, so that will take some of my time away. Two, I'm only reading 80 books this year. If I exceed it, great, but it'll keep me on track to hit those 80 books. And then 3, we have some very thick books in this stack, so I know that I'm going to need more time to read them. And then 2, another thing that I'm going to be doing for my TBR videos is I'm going to have a priority TBR within my TBR. So 5 books that I absolutely want and need to get to that month, and then everything else is great if I get to it, but not necessarily one of the top I have to get to it. So let's start with the top 5 books. So first off, we have Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, and then Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath. We all know that the 3rd book is going to be coming out this month, and so I have a lot of catching up to do since both of these books are 800 pages a piece, and there is a lot of ground to cover here. And it is, I think I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about these books because they are higher fantasy and just more different than any of the other SJM universes because it's more of like a urban fantasy. There's cell phones and weapons that are not swords. So I am a little nervous about it, but I got about 34 pages into Crescent City so far, and I'm mildly entertained. I have no idea what's going on at this point. Like, it's just kind of info dumpy without explaining anything to me at this point. So I'm fine with it. I'm just kind of vibing. And I feel better about it because of that, because I thought I would just see it and be like, I can't do this. Which would be very unfortunate because I've read the entire ACOTAR series and the entire Throne of Glass series. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I know that there's a lot that's going to be happening in the third book. So I'm really, really hopeful to see what is going to happen there. So I didn't even read the back of these books because I just knew that I was going to have to read them. But I read the description and it seems like our main character, Bryce, who is half fae, half human, is just kind of vibing in her life. I believe she's about 20-ish years old and she's working, she's hanging out, she's partying, it's great. But then a brutal murder happens and shakes everything up. 2 years later, the murder attacks again, and this person is assigned to watch her every move, and she knows that nothing will be the same. So it seems pretty vague for how big this book is about to be, and I guess I'm sure that's the point. But I am not going to look at the description for House of Sky and Breath because I am not there yet, but we're doing it. It is time and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to be filming it in a reading vlog. Probably not at the same time because that reading vlog would be massive, but I'm definitely going to be recording my reactions and my thoughts as I go through these. Next, I'm going to be listening to the audiobook for Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is one of my 24 books to read in 2024 that I'm really looking forward to and I've heard just amazing things about. It'll be my first R.F. Kuang book, and I think this is going to be a good place to start because it's just a standalone, it's pretty short, and the audiobook I've heard is very good as well. It's going to make me feel a lot of just anger and conflicting emotions at the same time, so I think that this is going to be great. This story follows Athena and June, who are rising, or supposed to be rising, literary stars, but Athena's career really takes off and June kind of just is a nobody. But when Athena's untimely death occurs, June takes her manuscript and writes it off as her own, and we get to watch kind of what happens as a result of that. So I can just tell that I'm going to be angry, and I'm looking forward to really getting into those emotions because I believe like when an author can make you feel that intensely, like it is just so good. So I'm definitely looking forward to this and can't wait to share it all with you. And this is another book that has been on my shelf for forever, and I've heard such good things about it, and it's one of my 24 books to read in 2024, so those are the two books for this month. And this is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma, and I believe that this is like a marriage of convenience kind of thing because our main female character is in a culture that really needs to have a man in their lives, so I believe that is what we're going to see here. But I've heard such fun things about this book and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So this will be like a good palate cleanser between the heavier either fantasy or literary fiction books that I'll be picking up this month. And the last priority read of this month is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. And really primarily the reason that I want to read it this month is because it is a 10,000 Doors of January, so obviously I want to read it in January. So that is the goal here. I believe this is just like a fun fantasy read, and this is also the same author as The Starling House, which came out in September-October timeframe that everybody really enjoyed. So I am looking forward to getting into this and seeing what kind of fun fantasy world this is. And it's a standalone, and I don't know if y'all can see, but it has the deckled edges, which is kind of fun. And obviously the cover is gorgeous. So those are my 5 top priority reads that I am going to get to in January, but let's talk about the 3 other books that I would love to get to. First, A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This also came out in the September-October timeframe, and everybody really enjoyed this. This was dark academia, YA, and obviously the cover is also gorgeous. And I think that everybody had pretty good thoughts on this one and enjoyed their time with it. So I believe that our main character, Effie, is going to be going through one of her favorite authors' houses and kind of discovering the mysteries that are underlying there. She also meets up with this other student who is basically doing the same thing. So I've heard good stuff about it and I just really want to get to it and think that this is going to be like a good winter read. Next, Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is the same author as Dial A for Aunties, and I think that is just going to be like a fun, cozy mystery. So it's about this old lady who has a tea shop, and one morning she goes down and finds a peculiar thing, a dead man. So she is going to be kind of finding her way through this mystery and figuring out how he got there, who he is, and what happened to have this. So I'm really looking forward to it. Again, I think it'll be a very good palate cleanser between all the heavier reads this month, so I am very excited about it. And then lastly, a new release book, Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. I am really, really excited about this because Divine Rivals left off on such a cliffhanger, and I absolutely love that book. So I am very much looking forward to this one, and I'm hoping that it lives up to the expectation in my head because, well, I love Divine Rivals. Like, I need this to give the same energy, the same romance, but also like the same great writing style as well. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and we'll see how it goes. So those are the 8 books that I want to read in the month of January. It is still a lot of pages that are going to get read. I feel like the Crescent City books just look like bricks sitting there. So I am very excited for this month and to get into more of these worlds, but then also the palette cleansers I think are going to be really fun as well. And that is my January TBR and my goals for 2024. Like I said, I hope you all enjoy this video. Please let me know what your goals are for 2024. And if you have a favorite book that you're looking forward to for January that you're like really excited to get to, let me know what you're planning on reading. I think that that is just so fun to see what everybody else is going to be reading. Oh, and what your first book of the year is. I feel like you have to set it up right. Last year, my first read was the tandem read for Throne of Glass. And I personally wouldn't recommend starting off that way because you just feel like you're getting behind. But then what did I do? I picked an 800-page book to get into this year. So that I wouldn't listen to me. I guess that's what I'm saying. So hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will be coming back shortly with my December reading wrap up and a new reading vlog. So we'll see you all soon. Bye.